So, what are we going to get out of this video? Like what you see? Well, let's go ahead and dive into how we go about creating walk cycles that have appeal. Walking is something many of us do. We spend a lot of our time walking from place to place. Often, we forget how the manner in which we walk can portray our feelings, emotions, and sometimes even our state of mind. People come in a variety of shapes and sizes, and as such, our walks are all unique. In this video, I'll be sharing 6 tips to help you create better walk cycles for your characters. We'll cover everything from the basics of a walk cycle to using animation layers to enhance your cycle's appeal, giving you the tools you need to make your character walks look and feel more natural and believable. Let's get into it. Tip number 1. Observation. Before you start animating, take some time to research how people walk in real life. Observe their movements and take note of the subtle nuances that makes each walk unique. Does a character walk with a limp? A feature that might give some small detail about their history. Or does a character walk with a spring in their step, denoting that they may have received some good news after a job interview or just generally having a good day? For the purpose of this video, I've used what's typically known as found footage reference to get a more generic vanilla walk cycle that I could add personality on top of. As I've mentioned previously, I like to block out my video reference and pick out my key poses. In the case of a walk cycle, that would be the contact position, the passing position, the up position, the down step, and back to the contact position. I'll be using the character Jinx from Arcane to animate our walk. You can get your own copy of the Jinx Rig with the link in the description below. Here in Maya, you can see that I start to pose Jinx in the aforementioned walking poses. Just as a quick reminder, those are the contact position, the passing position, the up position, the down step, and back to the contact position so that our animation loops. Be sure to have reference from multiple angles so you can see how a person moves from different vantage points. That's the front, the back, and from a side profile. I'm an experienced animator and I've had to animate walks on many different movies, so I can use a single side-on perspective reference on this occasion. Let's see how we start to build the foundations of our Jinx walk cycle from the reference we have thus far. You can see that even in stepped keys, our walk starts to take shape. This is because we've carefully chosen the poses that make up a standard walking action. You can also study pages 106 through to 117 of the Animator Survival Kit for more details on how walks work. Tip number 2. Weight shifting. The weight and balance of your character should be accurately portrayed in their walk cycle, whether it be cartoony or realistic. Pay attention to their center of gravity and how weight is shifted in between each step. Walking is often described as a repeated pattern of falling and catching yourself. Remember, we shift our weight from side to side when we walk. That way, Jinx's passing leg is free to swing forward and catch her body weight as it reaches the next contact pose. Our hips also play a pivotal role in weight shifting. The degree to which we rotate our hips in Rotate X, for example, determines the stride length that our character Jinx can have. If we have a greater rotation in the hips, the wider the stride length in the contact pose. Conversely, smaller rotation in the hips would result in a smaller stride length in the contact pose as well. How far or close the legs are to one another in the contact pose will usually determine the stride length. On a technical level, rotating the hips appropriately can also have an impact on whether or not we get knee popping in the animation. Tip 3. Personality. Your character's personality and emotions should be reflected in their walk. A confident character may have a strong, purposeful walk, while a timid character may walk with more hesitation or nervousness. Be mindful of this and try to implement these examples into your walks for added believability. You can see with Jinx, I've taken her standard vanilla walk and started adding a bit of personality to her. I've done this using an additive animation layer. I animate Jinx looking around curiously to get her to feel more alive. I make sure that the first and last frames are matching to maintain our clean animation cycle. If you're going to make a demo reel with a walk cycle, it's always best to make a generic cycle stand out by adding personality to it. Tip 4. Footpath. Pay attention to the placement of your character's feet during the stride of a walk. From the front view, our legs tend to sway outwards and inwards as we progress through the various stages of the cycle. For example, Jinx's legs will be at their widest point from one another in front view in the passing position. Again, in front view, they will be at their closest point to one another when in the contact position as they swing forward. For anatomical reasons, this is more pronounced in female walks than it is in males. Tip 5. Secondary motion. Adding secondary motion can add more life and realism to your character and overall walk cycle. You want to think about things like the movement of hair and clothing, or perhaps even accessories that your characters might have. Here, I'm adding secondary motion to Jinx's hair, very much in the same way I did in my last video. It's subtle, yet makes a huge difference when adding general appeal and aliveness to your walks. Tip 6. Practice, practice, practice. Like any skill, animating a walk cycle takes practice. Don't be discouraged if your first few attempts don't turn out perfectly. Keep practicing and refining your technique as well as your observations. Bonus tips. Remember, when animating a female character walk, you should be mindful of the swaying of the hips and how it differs from the swaying of male hips. This swaying of the hips is more pronounced in female walks than it is in males. Check the link in the description for an explanation of why this is. Time Warper. Another bonus tip is that you can use the Time Warper tool to adjust the speed of your cycles without having to squash or stretch your keys to subframes in the timeline. The Time Warper tool is a free tool that you can use in Maya. The link will also be in the description below. Avoiding knee popping. Knee popping. You can also resolve knee popping issues by baking your knee control to a locator and turning on motion trails. This is a really good way to clean up your arcs so you can get smooth movements in your knees for your walk cycle. So there you have it, 6 animation tips for a better walk cycle. Remember to consider timing and spacing, weight and balance, personality, foot placement, and secondary motion in your next walk cycle animation. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more animation related content. Thanks for watching and have a good week.